2026 Lamborghini Temerario, hybrid successor to the V10 Huracán. Previous context, Johnny Lieberman tested it at Estoril, Portugal, on a track. Verdict, fast, confidence-inspiring, balanced chassis. Current context, road test near Lamborghini HQ. Sant'Agata Bolognese to evaluate real-world behavior. Core conflict. The car is a track monster, but has an unexpected drawback in daily driving scenarios. 2. Technical specifications, the recap. Total output, 907 horsepower. ICE component, 4.0-liter twin-turbo V8, flat-plane crank. Redline, 10,000 RPM. Output, 789 HP, 538 lb-ft torque. Hybrid component, 3 electric motors. 2 front motors, Yasa axial flow, 148 HP each. Drive front wheels, same as Revuelto. 1 rear motor between engine and transversely mounted 8-speed DCT. Battery, 3.8 kilowatt lithium-ion, very small capacity. Braking, by-wire system, 10-piston front calipers. 3. Design and aesthetics. Comparison, less flamboyantly aggressive than the flagship Revuelto. Softer forms, but still menacing. Key features, reptilian slit-like headlights, large central exhaust, exposed rear tires, GT3-style rear aero. Dimensions, wheelbase is 1.5 inches longer than Huracán, results in a roomier interior. 4. The daily driving experience, the drawback. City mode, Zeta, functions as an EV using front motors. Range, we're at 6 miles. Issue, the motors are surprisingly loud, whiny. The carbon fiber structure amplifies the noise. Street mode, Strada. Transmission, shifts early for efficiency. We're 8th gear at 2,000 RPM 40 newton-meters. Drivability, effortless, comparable to a Toyota in traffic. Sound, the main complaint. The V8 lacks the V10's idle charisma. The direct injection system makes it sound like a rattly old diesel at low revs. 5. Performance driving, the redemption. Settings, Corsa, race mode, manual shifting. Engine character, above 4,000 RPM. The rattle turns into a never-ending scream up to 10,000 RPM. Gearing, long legs, second gear hits, 90 MEP. Dynamics. E-motors provide torque at fill, smoothing shifts, sauce, lag, and torque vectoring. Steering is light and accurate. Suspension handles rough Italian roads well, even in stiff modes. Weight, 4,000 alb, heavier than Huracán, but feels more agile due to vectoring. Schlesten verdict. Stats, 0-60, 2.5s, top speed 213 mph. Price, $390,000. Conclusion. A surprisingly well-rounded daily driver that is faster than hypercars of a decade. Ago P1 908, marred only by its disappointing low-speed soundtrack. The Silent Scream, a deep dive into the 2026 Lamborghini Temerario. The transition from the analog age of supercars to the electrified future is rarely smooth, but Lamborghini has never been a company to do things quietly. With the retirement of the beloved Huracán and its operatic V10 engine, the world looked to Sant'Agata Bolognese with a mixture of anticipation and dread. The heart of the beast, engineering excess. To understand the Temerario, one must first look beneath the aluminum and carbon fiber skin. Lamborghini has not simply downsized. They have completely rethought their approach to propulsion. The centerpiece is an all-new 4.0-liter twin-turbocharged V8. While twin-turbo V8 sounds like the industry standard for everyone from Ferrari to McLaren, Lamborghini's execution is unique. Using a flat-plane crank configuration, this engine is designed to spin to a stratospheric 10,000 RPM, a figure usually reserved for superbikes, not street cars. On its own, the combustion engine delivers 789 horsepower and 538 lb-ft of torque. However, in 2026, combustion is only half the story. The Temerario utilizes a sophisticated hybrid architecture comprising 3 electric motors. 2 Yasa axial flow motors are situated on the front axle, providing all-wheel drive without a physical drive shaft, while a third motor is sandwiched between the V8 and the transversely mounted 8-speed dual-clutch transmission. This is the same high-voltage hardware found in the flagship Revuelto, trickled down to the entry-level supercar. Visually, the car balances the aggression of its powertrain with a newfound maturity. The wheelbase has been stretched by 1.5 inches compared to the Huracán, giving the designers room to drape the bodywork more softly. It lacks the jagged, chaotic, edgy excess of the Revuelto, adopting instead a sleeker, reptilian visage. The headlights are narrowed into predatory slits, while the rear is dominated by a high-mounted central exhaust and exposed tires that scream GT3 racing heritage. It is undeniably a Lamborghini, but one that has perhaps spent a few years in finishing school. The Jekyll and Hyde personality. The true test of the Temerario lies not on the smooth asphalt of a racetrack, but on the pitted, traffic-clogged roads of Italy. It is here that the car reveals a split personality that is both impressive and, at times, perplexing. The drab daily driver. Switching the car into Zeta, city, mode transforms the raging bull into a docile electric commuter. In this mode, the V8 sleeps, and the car is pulled along solely by the front electric motors. With a fully charged 3.8 kWh battery, you get roughly 6 miles of silent running, enough to sneak out of your neighborhood but little else. However, the silence is relative. The carbon fiber monocoque, excellent for rigidity, acts as a drum for the electric motors, transmitting a loud, unrefined whine into the cabin that rivals the noise of unfinished prototype concepts. Transitioning to Strada, street mode brings the V8 to life. But this introduces the Temerario's most glaring flaw, its voice. The Huracán was famous for its soulful, bellowing idle, a sound that promised violence even when parked. The Temerario, by contrast, suffers from the acoustic curse of high-pressure direct injection. At low speeds and light, throttle, the kind used when navigating rush hour, traffic, or cruising through town. The engine emits a mechanical clatter, reminiscent of a rattly old diesel truck. The transmission, aiming for efficiency, shuffles quickly into 8th gear, leaving you trundling along at 40 mph at a sleepy 2,000 RPM. It is effortless, yes. Driving this 900 horsepower monster to Starbucks is as easy as driving a Toyota Camry, but for $390,000. One expects a Symphony, not the sound of a delivery van. The Canyon Carver, however, forgiveness comes quickly once the city limits are in the rearview mirror. Move the drive selector to Corsa, or to Race, and switch the transmission to manual, and the Temerario sheds its compromised skin. On a twisting canyon road, the powertrain is nothing short of divine. The magic begins at 4,000 RPM. At this threshold, the diesel-like rattle evaporates, instantly replaced by a mechanical scream that hardens and intensifies as the needle sweeps upward. Most turbocharged engines run out of breath early, but the Temerario pulls relentlessly. The climb from 4,000 to 10,000 RPM feels endless, a euphoric rush of noise and acceleration. You find yourself glancing at the tachometer, convinced you must shift, only to realize you still have 2,000 RPM of headroom remaining. The integration of the hybrid system is masterclass. The electric motors act as torque fill, smoothing out the power, delivery and masking any hint of turbolog. They work like backing vocalists, supporting a lead singer, enhancing the performance without stealing the spotlight. The torque vectoring on the front axle pulls the nose into corners with startling agility, making the 4,000-pound curb weight feel hundreds of pounds lighter. Thunder and whispers, living with the 2026 Lamborghini Temerario. The automotive world is currently standing at a precipice. On one side lies the history of combustion, fire, noise, and vibration. On the other lies the future of electrification, silence, efficiency, and instant torque. Standing directly on the edge, with one foot firmly planted on each side, is the 2026 Lamborghini Temerario. As the successor to the Huracán, the Temerario has impossibly large shoes to fill. The Huracán was the best-selling Lamborghini in history, beloved not just for its speed, but for the operatic soul of its naturally aspirated V10, replacing it with a hybrid. V8 was always going to be a controversial move. We recently had the opportunity to test the Temerario in the rolling hills and cramped city centers of Emilia-Romagna, Italy, while track tests at circuits like Estoril have proven the car's dynamic brilliance. The real test of a modern supercar is how it handles the duality of its existence. The grocery run on Tuesday and the track day on Sunday. The architecture of speed. To call the Temerario a hybrid is to understate its engineering complexity. This is not a Prius with a body kit. At its core sits a newly developed 4.0-liter V8 engine. Lamborghini engineers opted for a hot V setup with a flat-plane crankshaft, a configuration that reduces rotating mass and allows the engine to rev with motorcycle-like ferocity. The red line sits at a dizzying 10,000 RPM, a figure that seems almost fictitious in an era of turbocharged engines that usually run out of steam by 7,000 RPM. Supporting this combustion powerhouse are 3 electric motors. 2 are mounted on the front axle, giving the Temerario true torque vectoring all-wheel drive. These motors can spin independently, pulling the car into corners or stabilizing it under hard braking. This rear motor fills the gaps in the torque curve, ensuring that when you stomp the gas, the response is immediate, regardless of what gear you're in. The total system output is a staggering 907 horsepower. Despite the addition of batteries and motors, the Temerario remains visually cohesive. The design language is softer than the angular Revuelto, but no less striking. The front end features slim, reptilian headlights that give the car a predatory squint, while the rear exposes the massive tires and intricate suspension components, mimicking the raw functionalism of a GT3 race car. However, the daily driver facade cracks when you listen closely. In Città mode, the car operates as a front-wheel drive. EV, while this allows for stealthy departures, the silence unveils a lack of acoustic refinement. The electric motors emit a high-pitched whine that resonates through the carbon fiber chassis. It's a sound that feels industrial rather than futuristic. A reminder that weight-saving measures often come at the cost of sound insulation. Switch to Strata mode, and the V8 fires up. But instead of a bark, you get a clatter. The direct injection system, necessary for emissions and power efficiency, creates a ticking noise at idle that sounds suspiciously like a diesel engine. Cruising through town at 30 mph, the transmission shifts early to keep revs low, and the engine drones along unhappily. It lacks the theatricality of the old V10, which turned every stoplight into an event. In traffic, the Temerario feels leashed, its immense potential hidden behind a wall of uninspired acoustics. Unleashing the gods. But supercars are not bought for traffic jams. They are bought for the moments when traffic clears. We took the Temerario to the twisting roads south of Sant'Agata, switched the dial to Corsa, and engaged manual shifting. The verdict. The 2026 Lamborghini Temerario is a car of extremes. It is a technological triumph that offers hypercar performance for a fraction of the historical price. It is faster, more capable, and more comfortable than the Huracán it replaces. Yet, it is also a car that requires engagement to make sense. If you drive it passively, shuffling from cafe to office, you may find yourself missing the raw, unpolished charm of the past. You might resent the whiny motors and the clattering idle, but if you have the space and the courage to chase that 10,000 RPM redline, the Temerario rewards you with an experience that is unmatched in the modern market. It is a flawed daily driver, but a perfect supercar. And in a world that is becoming increasingly homogenized and silent, perhaps a screaming 900 horsepower hybrid is exactly the kind of madness we need.